Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charles Eagan, Chief Technology Officer for BlackBerry.
Hello everyone, welcome to this keynote. I'm very excited to be talking here today a little about our trust in tech. I've got a few things I want to talk about to get you thinking about the connected automobile and the future of technology and data. So I'd like to start with a question. So what was technology like 35 years ago? 35 years ago, that was 1984. It's kind of interesting. There's a few reasons why that's interesting. BlackBerry is 35 years old. This is our anniversary. 1984 also conjures up another familiar thought, Big Brother. So I think today we can agree, Big Brother is watching, so is Big Sister. There's lots of people that are watching our data, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. One interesting fact about 1984, it was actually written in 1949. That was 35 years earlier. So if you think across a 70-year span from that prediction, it's finally come true. Now, I can say we've been focusing on security, securing communications and providing privacy for at least 35 years. But if you think of the span over this 70 years, the automobile has been very similar. You have a steering wheel, you have the signals, you've got the front and back seats. It hasn't changed a lot. It kind of looks like the same car with some different ergonomics. But my position is, as we look forward 35 years, think about that for a second. 35 years from now, I believe the car will be nothing like we see today. It will be fully autonomous. We will have went through the quantum barrier of quantum computing. There will be far more services. Compute and bandwidth will be infinite. And this is all happening in our, in our near future. So. Now, since the inception, BlackBerry has been focused on trying to do something special, trying to give back or provide security. We've built hundreds of millions of secure phones deployed globally. BlackBerry QNX is running in over 120 million cars, and there's a bunch of new technologies coming into this platform. But before I get into the main technology part of this presentation, I want to give you just a quick BlackBerry tutorial because people may not understand BlackBerry. So BlackBerry is really it's really protecting endpoints. It's protecting services. It basically provides protection. Devices, assets. We talk about the Internet of Things. There's a lot of things happening. What BlackBerry is doing now is we're basically a security software company. We've taken all the experience we have and we're bringing this to the market to try to provide security software for the industry. We're doing it in a technology agnostic way. We're working with standards as much as possible. And we're taking the experience that we bring to this to try to secure the future. There's a lot of best practices that we know, but basically in the future, BlackBerry will continue to connect and protect. So who uses BlackBerry today? People that count on their data being secure, where there's high stakes, automotive, financial services, government, these are all users of BlackBerry technology. Specific to this audience, ISO 26262, that's a safety certified operating system or hypervisor. The automobile is very safe, And part of making it safe is having safety certification. And that's something that we provide in our automotive technology suite. So BlackBerry is a leader. We're basically, people were using smartphones before smartphones were secure. They were putting business critical data on these phones. More services will be coming to the car, and we need to make sure those are secure. So we created high security in a mobile phone market that wasn't secure. We created a secure vehicle OS, and we created this unified endpoint management. It's our belief that an unmanaged endpoint is an insecure endpoint. So endpoints could be phones, could be cars, could be computers. If you're not doing software updates, you're exposing yourself to vulnerabilities. The software development of most industries involves a lot of open source. We find vulnerabilities in open source, and that open source needs to be protected as we move forward. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then in terms of an innovator, and the advertisement section will end soon, but we created the smartphone before the world knew they needed it, and we created it in a secure way. These phones had very low bandwidth, so we had to create protocols that allowed us to give a rich experience even though the bandwidth was very small. So, we've basically pioneered lots of technologies in the mobile space. We have lots of patents. We have very futuristic R&D going on in terms of security, machine learning. Artificial intelligence is all the buzz. BlackBerry's just acquired a company called Cylance. Cylance is a very advanced machine learning, artificial intelligence company. They basically took the premise, we're not going to detect malware after it happens based on a pattern. We're going to detect malware before it's noticed to be malware. So they've used large data and insights to figure out malware before it's actually ever been observed and the pattern has been determined. So we're bringing this AI knowledge into the automobile to help create technology that we can trust. So then as I go, there's three main things I want to leave you with today. So the technology is shaping the future, and the connected car is here. Like every car, the number of cars that will be connected is going up, and we'll talk about some of those alarming numbers. Security is becoming more important. If you have a security vulnerability in a car, that becomes a safety issue, potentially. So, you can have a computer crash, but if you have a security vulnerability in a car, there's a safety implication. So really, security needs to be considered a core requirement for safety. Just like BlackBerry did mobility, we're poised for the Internet of Things to try to make this wild connected future more secure, and we'll be driving these solutions into the autonomous service delivery, or the automotive service delivery platform. Okay, so basically, IoT endpoints are coming. 75 billion connected things by 2025, $3 trillion, $11 trillion business value in digital transformation. There's connected devices that are just starting to wash ashore now. We're seeing connected speakers, cameras, but there's way more that are in development. So the connected world is becoming a reality right now. And so the volume and the ramp up of this across all the different sources is predicting that this is going to be very, very, there's going to be a lot of connectivity. Every week, we're seeing vulnerabilities with the current level of connectivity. So there's some best practices and lessons we can learn in sort of the explosion of the mobile phone and the connectivity and the services that come along with it that we can learn from to make the automobile more secure. But but basically everything will have its own IP address, or in a sense, in the car, the computing bandwidth is becoming infinite compared to the past, and the networking bandwidth is also going up. 5G is 1,000 times faster than 4G. That makes things like augmented reality or high data throughput services possible where it wasn't possible before. Would you have predicted on a mobile phone that there would be hundreds of thousands of applications that were needed to be on the device you use for making phone calls? That service has filled into this void where the data connectivity has come in. So I think from the automotive point of view, that's going to be an area where new things will be brought into play. The high bandwidth, the OEMs, the carriers, the people that are managing fleets, enterprises, the way cars are being used, this is all changing the automotive market. So definitely, from a car point of view, 1.2 billion cars today, about 10% of them are connected. We're expecting 250 million cars connected by 2020. That's next year. So, and the future, looking forward into the OEM roadmaps, we're seeing more and more connectivity. I believe security will be a differentiator in this platform. So if you cannot prove that your infrastructure is secure, then buyers will not prefer for that solution. Good old capitalism, or the reputation will go with it, and I believe that security is really important. Think about some of these services. With an automobile, you can now have an identity. So if you have a car share, you could have your identity follow you. So you need your permissions to be in that vehicle when you take it, and you want them to be securely wiped when you leave. You need to be able to trust in that. The other thing from a managed feature set, maybe different family members want different services in the vehicle. So that's something that we've done a lot of BlackBerry has done a lot of in the sort of enterprise software point of view, but in the vehicle, the ability to turn on services means you need to have policy and identity and lots of security monitoring to make sure that you're not providing yourself or exposing yourself to risks that are or data loss, or you need to be able to trust all your sensor data to make sure any driver assist or autonomous behavior is well behaved. Okay, so the point that security is becoming more important because it's now tied to safety. There's different types of data that are coming into the connected automobile. And let's face it, large data is going to bring ML capability to be able to monitor and react to things that you can't react to algorithmically. So ML will definitely be something that we're looking for moving into the future in connected cars. John Chen, our CEO, has made a quote. Companies should protect their data, the data they manage, not exploit it. Basically, privacy should be embedded by design right from the outset. Something we've done in BlackBerry is we've stated, we will move your data, we will secure your data, we will not capitalize or monetize it in some unknown way. And so we believe that everyone should be very open and honest about the data, the use of the data that's being collected. In our personal lives, we see lots of different social media platforms are collecting data, and there's different uses for that data that's happening. A lot of people are talking about GDPR. The access, the knowledge of the data that's being sent, and the control of that data, I think, is being really important. But it's not just about privacy. It's also about the sensor data. The sensor data needs to be high assurance so that you can verify that that it can be trusted. So if you change a temperature or a pressure sensor, very different things can happen. So we need to make sure that our data sources are very high assurance. Basically, bringing trust in data is something, as an industry, we need to make sure that we're enforcing. The other thing about security being critical to safety. So we've had the 4 industrial revolutions of quality. Cars are very safe, and there's lots of rigor that goes into making sure a car is safe. Security, not as much. We connect things, and we find out, like the attack surfaces on the current automobiles come through connected interfaces that give access to vehicle information and can cause unwanted activities. But the security standards are not yet in place. How do you assure that a car is secure? Like, where's the standard that says, here's the security label that says this is secure. It has encrypted boot, it's got hardware root of trust, it's got security monitoring to make sure that it hasn't been compromised. But basically, security will be a precondition for safety, and the standards must quickly get in place to make sure that we can all achieve this together. Some people have said it's a bit like the Wild West. So how do you get security? Is that a firewall? Or is it a secure, an encrypted tunnel or something like that? Really, we talk at BlackBerry about the 7 pillars of cybersecurity. There's a lot of things you need to do for security. And some of them are, use trusted components. You might have 100 different module providers bringing software into a car. How do you certify that car doesn't have some backdoor that's been designed in? That's something you need to, we have some technologies, but you need to make sure that you've got good pedigree on all of the components you're using. The other thing, so secure the supply chain. Make sure you understand everything that's going into your car. Isolation, hardware isolation, software isolation, process isolation, memory protection, all things. You will be compromised. So how do you detect it and heal around it and recover from it? You need a plan for that right from the outset. I'll come back to number 4, dynamic security monitoring. Rapid response. When something goes wrong, you need to be able to respond in an orderly way to make sure you remediate that problem. So having a plan for that in your architecture and in your infrastructure is really important. Lifecycle management. If you're running software, you have vulnerabilities. So if you're not updating your software, you give the attackers a long time to be able to get to exercise that vulnerability. So software that's not updated in a controlled way is also something that is a potential risk. The last one, safety, security culture. Look at where the hacks are happening in the industry. Does that apply to you? Hack yourself. Look for vulnerabilities, denial of service. There's all kinds of knowledge we have about how cybersecurity and computer security is happening right now. We can apply that in the automobile. So I'll focus on dynamic security monitoring. Once you get access to a system, you can sort of land and expand. You can go and look around and create havoc. But with dynamic security, you're basically monitoring to make sure that the system is running normally. If it's not, you react. So the idea, it could be driver identity. We should be able to tell with our sensors who's driving, and you should be able to get an alarm that says, this is not the intended driver, and take appropriate action. Cylance, our machine learning and artificial intelligence acquisition, is helping us build that capability into our platform. We believe at BlackBerry, we're building automotive platforms that integrates all of these components so that you can safely build all these features into the automotive infrastructure and create value on top of that in an efficient way and in a very safe way. And so I think from there's a couple of different AI strategies we're working on. One is to prevent bad software being loaded on the car. The other one is to do a real-time monitoring of the software to make sure the events that are happening are expected. And then in closing, so I want to thank you for the time. Technology is shaping the future, and the connected car is here today. Security is more about safety, and we need security standards to protect this future. I think you need a platform to be successful. So we've done this for mobile, and we'll be doing this for automotive. So BlackBerry is driving security into connected vehicles. Let's enjoy the ride. Thank you very much for your time today.